Okay, so I have 4 o'clock on my watch. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And I actually like to do this just because we're in different places here. Can we go ahead and do a roll call of the board members, please?
Sure. Vice President De La Rosa,
Here.
alternate Vice President Lopez,
Here.
and President Colin.
Okay, and I'm here. And I wanted to do that for a couple reasons. One is for those that are listening in, just to hear the 3 of us that are on. Also, it's kind of a sound check because our formatting for this meeting is a little bit different than normal. So thank you all for attending who have logged on. A couple comments at the beginning or meeting logistics at the beginning. If anyone is interested in commenting either on the public comment section or on any of the agenda items as we get to them, there's a couple ways that you can do that. You can either send an email to comment@svswa.org. And again, that's comment@svswa.org. For those of you who are logged in via Zoom, you can click on the raise hand button and we will recognize you. The third option is if you are calling in. So if you're on your phone logged on, then you can quote unquote raise your hand by pressing *9. That will indicate to us that you would like to speak. So *9 indicates you want to speak. And then when called upon, then you would do *6 to unmute yourself. So I think those are all of the logistics, but let me just check with staff. Did I miss any of the logistics for this meeting?
No, that sounds about right. The only addition, Rob, is we have made you host. So if you would like to turn on your camera, you are able to.
Okay. And this is one of those days, I'm not going to put my camera on because I am like literally eating lunch while I'm doing this meeting. It has been one of those days. So unless you guys want to watch me eat, but otherwise I will be multitasking and I apologize for that. Okay, let's go ahead and start with general manager comments, Patrick.
Just a couple of quick notes. We have a few things coming up in the next couple of months. One regarding potentially looking at our office space needs going forward, because we're, unfortunately haven't moved forward yet with the relocation. So we will be contacting the landlord to discuss whether there's a potential for a lease extension on the building going forward another year or two. So that's one administrative thing we'll be bringing back to the executive committee potentially next month or November. One other item. So today, Mandy and I had a meeting with the Farm Bureau, Grower Shippers Association, Measure to Improve, just to really start to really get the ball rolling with the ag industry and 1383 rules and regulations. On top of that, there's some legislative things out there right now that are creating a little bit of confusion over rights to haul and those kind of things. So we're trying to facilitate sort of a solution that'll be coming back likely to some of the member agencies, councils, or boards, depending on the haulers' input as well. So we'll be looking at setting up some meetings to get all the people in the room to talk about the broader issue of organic waste recovery, hauling rights, and where that material gets to be directed, whether it's to animal feed, compost, or other applications. And then finally, we are starting to look again at some potential joint projects with the district relative to anaerobic digestion for some portion of the organic recovery. And Mandy and I did have a meeting also with a well-established technology vendor that is working in that specific space, recovering organic fractions in mixed waste and looking at the different ways we could facilitate that. And of course, the back side of that is, where does that material go? Who's going to have digesters available? Or are we going to be looking at partnership projects or piggybacking on existing wastewater infrastructure? So a lot of moving parts on that, but that'll be something we'll be bringing back to the board again, probably in a few months once we get a little more information and sort of look at different directions that we may want to take to further expand our organics recovery programs beyond just the compost. So, quick summary on sort of the things that we're working on right now.
Thank you, Patrick. And while you're on that note, some of that legislation that's in place, or in some of those things that are coming down the pipe as the various regulations expand, has there been any talk at the state level to delay any of those implementations and or loosening? Yeah, okay. A guy can dream, right?
I can speak for myself, speaking for the agency, but I can also speak for a lot of my peers. There has been a very strong and repetitive voice in the industry to the regulators, specifically at Cal Recycle, about the unreasonableness of continuing to push really just the timelines. At this point, I think changing the regulations is not going to happen. But our biggest concern right now, and trying to get some of this communicated, is the timing. For instance, give us an extra year, because we're going to lose a year because of COVID. It's been difficult. We're still moving the ball and we're still focusing on those deadlines, but it is definitely becoming more of a challenge with specifically with other agencies that may be having more of a staffing and time challenge than we are to still meet those deadlines. So we're still focused on them, but we continue to voice our concerns over the lack of flexibility and pushing some of those timelines out at least another year. So today, the answer is no. There is no, doesn't seem to be any willingness from Cal Recycle, but the voices are getting louder, so maybe they'll start listening.
All right, thank you. We'll go down to the department manager comments, and Caesar, why don't we start with you? You got anything for us?
No comments tonight.
Okay, Ray?
No comments today.
Brian?
I have no comments tonight.
Mandy?
No comments for me either. Thank you.
Okay. And let's see, Rosie or anyone else that I may have missed?
None here. Thanks, Rob.
Okay. All right, thank you. Then we'll go to committee member comments, and I'll start with Vice President De La Rosa. You got anything for us?
No, I guess I'll wait till we get to, well, no, I will make a comment. I remember after our last meeting that we had, that you directed me to go back, you directed Salinas to go back and talk to Ray about setting up the meeting. And that's being handled. And they're supposed to be contacting you, Rob, to set up that meeting. And then as far as Republic, I'm hoping that they will contact you, Patrick, if they haven't yet.
Well, we'll talk more about that under the agenda item.
Okay. So those are my only comments.
Okay, thank you, Gloria. Chris, you got anything for us?
Yeah, just a couple quick comments. I just want to share with this board that, or this committee, that I did have an opportunity to make a little bit of, well, let's say I got the opportunity to ask some questions of Cal Recycles on our last AEE meeting. I know we had staff there. I think I made the point through the questions I asked to show that there wasn't much support for us at the local level. It was a lot of unfunded mandates, and brought up the COVID issue, and there was a lot of, we'll go get answers and get them back to you, and that was where it ended. But it is a continued concern for us down here as we see businesses closing their doors permanently, and with costs that are going to be incurred and eventually passed on. We know what impact that's going to have here in the Salinas Valley, and it's troublesome. I also wanted to just remind everybody, COVID continues. I know that we were distracted by some fires that ripped through our area, and a lot of folks kind of, lost sight of the fact that, COVID is still very much here and very much real. And as we head into this, this holiday weekend. I hope everybody takes it seriously and continues to socially distance as beaches are closed. And lastly, I did just want to raise a thought. Unfortunately, in the river fire, there were about 30 or so homes lost, and some of those are within our service area. And I'm just wondering if we've considered any sort of break for those homes as they eventually have to dig out of the rubble that they're in. I know for some, asbestos will be an issue and the air board will get involved there. But for those that aren't, it's as they haul away what's left of their homes, if we could give them any sort of breaks or structure something with proof and everything else, I think that would be a great gesture from the Solid Waste Authority. Just a thought. And with that, I'll wrap my comments. Thank you, Mr. President.
Wow.
Would you like us to bring it back for full discussion at the board? I mean, Cesar can update you on the, he's working on the process, the technical environmental safety process for receiving that material. But if you'd like us to bring that back for board consideration, granting some kind of discount waiver.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great.
And I don't mind having it as a discussion item. I will, the vast majority of you know that I own an insurance agency. So with my insurance agent hat on, those types of costs, as long as someone has homeowners insurance, that should be covered, and the cost gets passed on to the insurance company. So I want to be a little bit careful if we have that discussion. It's a nice gesture, but I think it's when we flow it through, and if it's the insurance company paying, it ends up being a nice gesture to the insurance company instead of the person. But that being said, there probably are some costs, additional costs that those individuals and families that got affected by those fires, by losing their homes, there may be some costs that they incurred that are not going to be covered. So let's just tread carefully on this. If we do bring it back for the full board, if it was just me making the decision, I would say for us not to pursue it. And I also can understand and appreciate that it would probably be difficult for us to treat people differently. In other words, if someone does have insurance and the insurance company is going to pay for it, so we don't give them a break, but then someone that may not have insurance for whatever reason, and they bear the full brunt of the cost. Just some kind of food for thought if staff's going to look at that further.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, that is the challenge. Usually the disposal costs are insurable reimbursement for recovery, and this sort of puts us in that spot that if we do this for everybody, the insurance company's benefit, if we do it selectively for people that didn't have insurance or adequate insurance, then we have to be concerned about how that might present itself. So
based on that, again, it would be my preference that we do not pursue this as a discussion point at the full board, but I will defer to Chris and Gloria. If you feel strongly about it, by all means, let us hear your voices and we'll talk about it. What are your thoughts?
So no, I mean, whichever way can help, but what does legal say? What's our legal? I mean, is legal on?
I don't want to put them on the spot. Can we, if there's a desire to pursue it from you, Gloria, and from you, Chris, then let's direct legal and staff to review potential options. So I'm gathering by your comments, Gloria, that you would like staff and legal to research that further.
Yes, I think so, right, Chris? Or I don't know. I'll support. I think we need to help if somebody needs the help, you know?
Okay.
So if we
Chris,
can look at that.
Okay, so Gloria would like to have that go to staff and legal to review. Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I just want to understand, because again, I'm not an insurance agent. It's not my area of expertise, but if there's going to be even a small group of people who don't have insurance or have, say they had an outbuilding or had other, fences lost on a property that wasn't insured but wasn't necessarily a home. and there's things that they have to throw away rather than having those piled up and ending up in the hills for a couple decades. If we could, encourage them to bring them down through some sort of a discount. And again, I realize that understanding that the insurance is going to cover for the majority of folks, I am worried just about that subsect of folks that isn't going to have coverage, and any way we can help out. And again, if legal comes back and says it's not possible, then I'm good with it and letting it lie there. So even if we have to put it off to next exec, I'm okay with that and bringing it here. But I'll defer to staff on that in terms of process.
Okay, fair enough. So let's provide that as direction to staff and legal to review. And if you would like my input in my role as an insurance agent, happy to do that. Okay, Patrick?
Sounds good.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to public comment. And for those of you who are on Zoom, you can click on the raise hand button. For those of you who are on the phone, you can dial star and then 9. For those of you streaming on whatever we're streaming on these days, YouTube, you can send an email to comment@svswa.org. And it'll be times like this that I'll pause for a minute, since there is a delay in the streaming to YouTube, for people to provide their comments. So while I'm pausing, I will also ask staff, has anyone raised their hand and or emailed in a public comment?
No.
Okay, I will wait for 1 minute and then I will check again. So I'll be silent for a minute. Well, that was probably about a minute. I should have set a timer. Any public comment come in?
No public comment.
Okay, let's move on to the consideration agenda then. Item number 1 is the minutes of the August 6th, 2020 meeting, and we'll bring it to committee discussion first. Chris or Gloria, do you have any changes or comments on the meeting minutes?
Yes, I was absent for our meeting, one of our meetings. Was it the executive meeting that I was absent?
Yes, it does indicate that you're absent, yes.
Yeah. Okay, just want to make sure that I abstain from those minutes. Okay.
No
Nothing else.
comments on my behalf.
Okay. Has any public comment come in?
No, President Collin, I do have a correction on the minutes. We
Okay.
have Monica Ambriz, Human Resources, as a supervisor, as attending the meeting, but she was not there. And we do need to add Rosie Ramirez, Administrative Assistant, as being present.
Okay, perfect. So when I do call for action, we'll include that amendment to the minutes there. Okay, one last check. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes with the aforementioned changes, corrections.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and then, just to make this clean, let's do a roll call vote as we go through these, since we're online. So if we could do a roll call vote, please.
Sure. Vice President De La Rosa,
Aye.
Alternate Vice President Lopez,
Yes.
and President Collin.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you all. Let's go to the July 2020 claims and financial reports, and we're going to receive a report from Ray Hendricks, please.
Helps if I unmute myself. Sorry about that. Do this a little differently than normal, just because there is a change to the staff report. Just want to kind of point that out and go over some numbers. So Rosie, quick, I have the next slide. So given with COVID and us being a little more concerned with revenue, we went and we actually already do this internally, but we projected our budget for the entire year for the different lines of services based on 7 to 10 years of historical trend that we have and where those revenues fall. So for the month of July, our solid waste tipping fees, based on the historical trends, we should have received 1.2 million. We actually received 1.45 million, so 250,000 over our budget. Diverted materials is over 88,000 and total revenues is 354,000. So going forward, you'll see that month and the year-to-date number, just so we can kind of be a little more informative of our revenues as we go through the year. I know August is a little, we'll have a little dip, but we did project our solid waste conservatively and do have some room for tonnage decreases. So we'll keep an eye on it and hope that suffices to meet our budget needs. Next slide. Rosie, next slide. Thank you. Okay, so we show the expenditures to revenues, but the one thing to always look at is cash balances. So at July 1, well, during the month of July, we transferred out 2.5 million out of the operating fund to cover the post-closure and capital improvement budgets that were approved as part of the budget. We also transferred out 2.45 million in debt service payment for payments due August 1st. So I know available for operations does show a negative 4.6 million, but that's typical for the beginning of the year, and that gets built up over the course of the year. So just not a concern, but just something that it's just a system thing that we do. So that being said, we can go to the next page. For the month of July, when compared to last year, total revenues were up about $100,000, which is great considering the dips we saw in the beginning of the year. Our expenditures are also up about $150,000 year over year. Most of that was the insurance premiums that we had huge increases, and those payments were done at the beginning of July. So we'll keep an eye on it and hope that we have enough savings throughout the year to offset those unexpected increases. Unless there's any questions.
None.
So
None.
let's and I know this is for a period ending July 31st, but I do want to use this as an opportunity just to ask both Caesar and Ray, with the fires and other things in general, what are we seeing? Are we seeing an increase in tonnage? What are we seeing right now?
For August, we actually saw a decrease in solid waste tonnage year over year. We're fine budget wise, because we are budgeted conservative. So to the budget, we're still good. But when compared over year, we were down 7% for solid waste. Organics and other tonnages are actually still up.
Okay, and that makes sense on the organics and stuff. I'm surprised though that waste tonnage, you said it had gone down 7%.
For August, yes.
For August, yeah, that's interesting. I would have thought it would have been.
I mean, fairly normal for us to have some, variation month over month all through the whole year. So it's not, when we see 2 or 3 of those months put together, then we might, start to have some, realistic concerns that it's a trend versus just normal variation.
And that just to that point, there is like the ag season does affect how our tonnage comes in. So if there's any type of shift or anything like that, sometimes I think August had like an extra weekend day this year, last year over this year. So, but that is typical that we do have ebbs and flows on it.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Okay, thank you for that. Any committee discussion on this?
No, I have none.
Okay, Chris, you got anything?
Nothing from me.
Okay. Has any public comment come in on this item, or has anyone raised their hand to speak?
No public comment.
Okay. I'll pause just for a minute in case any emails come in. So I'll mute myself and all right, this time I set a stopwatch. That was a minute. All right. Last chance. Has a public comment come in?
No public comment.
Okay, and this is on for forward to the board and recommend approval. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
And if we could do a roll call vote, please.
Sure. Vice President De La Rosa,
Aye.
alternate Vice President Lopez,
Yes.
and President Collins.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. We'll go to item number 3, a resolution approving the grants and capital improvement projects budget for fiscal year 2020, 2021. And we're going to receive a report from Ray Hendricks again, please.
So this is a routine annual item. We do have new CIPs that are budgeted as part of the annual budget, but then once we're done paying prior year invoices, we carry over the funds so we can continue on some of these projects. So I will go through these fairly quickly, at least the first couple. Next slide, please. Rosie, thank you. So for post-closure funds, last year we pulled these out of the operating fund and turned them into CIP so we can carry over the funds. So this is the first year we're actually carrying over funds. So we do have the approved amounts from the budget and an additional 650,000 that are being carried over. A big portion of Crazy Horse are just CIPs that are there for potential corrective action needed in the future. Where'd she go? Next slide. Okay, so for other funds, we have some EIR funds, the autoclave project, grants and reimbursement grants. We didn't really work on any of these last year with CEQA being on hold, but the funds are still there and being carried over. We have no adjustments to those other than we're just carrying them over. And for the capital improvement funds, we do have 4.3 million remaining that we're carrying over and another 1.5 million approved in a budget. There are a few adjustments. One is more by design. So we began setting aside $5 a ton last year for every ton landfilled for future module engineering. So the dollar set aside was 1.1 million. So we're adjusting that CIP and continuing to set aside so when we build a module in the next 4 or 5 years, there's money there for it. We are requesting $500,000 in additional adjustments for groundwater wells at both Malone Road and Johnson Canyon. We have some money already in the budget for a Colon Road well, but early estimates show that that's not going to be enough. And Johnson Canyon, the well that's there is really only producing enough water for like the toilet and like washing your hands up at the shop. But we need a stronger well in order to help with dust control and be able to store enough water in case we had a fire incident at both of those sites. In addition, we're asking for another $200,000 for the Colon Road transfer station improvements. And that is to update, to repair the entrance road to the facility. So a total of 1.6 million in adjustments. And unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Ray, and I'm glad to see those Holland Road improvements, because yeah, that road is awful. Much needed.
I do need to add that the 500,000 additional funds would come from the 1920 fund balance before we allocate the surplus this year.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Good.
Okay, let's do committee discussion first. And I think, Gloria, did you say no comments or questions?
No, I don't have any.
Okay.
Thank you, Ray.
Chris, do you have anything?
Thank you.
Just thankful for all the work. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, and has any public comment come in on this?
No, we don't have any public comment.
Okay, I will once again mute myself and set a stopwatch for 1 minute.
Okay.
All right, that was a minute. Any public comment come in?
And no public comment.
Okay, and this item is on to forward to the board and recommend approval. So I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Okay, and roll call vote, please.
Vice President De La Rosa,
Aye.
alternate Vice President Lopez,
Aye.
and President Cohen.
Aye, motion carries. We'll go to item number 4, update on the Sun Street Transfer Station Relocation Project. And we're going to receive a report from Patrick, please.
So this is going to be very quick. There's not a lot of new information from the update at the board meeting, but just for the record and anybody that may be listening. So Republic Services has rejected the authority's offer to buy a property. They basically have stated that they're not interested in selling any of the Madison Lane property to us. They have, however, stated that they may be interested in entertaining a lease of some sort, but that will be conditioned on a engineering needs assessment that is going on right now. They hired a consultant to go out, look at I think a whole variety of things, I would assume, condition of the facility, upgrades, updates, and then whatever their long-term plan is for that facility, which hasn't been shared at this point, besides if they have any plans beyond the Salinas operation. So I'm assuming they'll be looking at things like infrastructure needs for their courtyard, CNG fueling, and potentially even long-term projections. So their commitment to us was that once that's done, then they would be in a position to potentially offer us something or come back and discuss some kind of a lease opportunity. So that's where we stand with that. On a side note, I have, at the request of the city managers group, which is the South Valley cities, they have periodically been bringing both myself and City Manager Corpus into joint meetings to they're trying to help facilitate solutions, getting rid of the notice to withdraw, and which we'll speak to again a little bit more in the next item, but and also just to get updates on the project. So I have prepared a summary of the project that came out of the scope of work for CEQA. So, as you know, we worked on getting the scope of work ready in anticipation of potentially starting the project. And so that has a description of the project as we proposed it, not as it stands today, but as we proposed it, along with pictures and drawings and diagrams, things that the board has already seen, just to give them some background and to give them some points for discussion with Mr. Corpus during those conversations. Their whole goal here really is to try to facilitate the solution to avoid the withdrawal and the subsequent financial impacts that both the city and the remaining member agencies would have to take on if that were to happen. And so I just want to thank all of them, if any of them are listening, thank them for their help on this and to help facilitate a resolution. And we have a meeting scheduled for next week where I'll be again presenting that project outline, and they'll be providing their input to both myself and Mr. Corpus on what their hopes would be for resolving this.
So when is that meeting, Patrick? And so who all is going to be involved in that meeting?
It'll be the 5 city managers.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 city managers and myself. And it's been sort of a standing meeting every 1 to 2 weeks. So it's Tuesday afternoon next week.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay, and that was all on your report, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's open it up to committee discussion first, and we'll start with you, Gloria.
Well, I'm glad that you're meeting, but okay. So when is the meeting with Rob? That's the one that Ray is going to set up, correct?
I have not been contacted by Ray yet.
Nor have I.
Okay, but he's going to contact you because I talked to him today.
Yeah.
And I really stressed that. When is our meeting? Because he needs to schedule a meeting. And he assured me that he was going to contact you either today or tomorrow on that one. Okay.
Well, and thanks again for doing that, Gloria. And I will await his call or email then. So
yes.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions on this item, Gloria?
No, that's it.
Okay, Chris, any questions or comments on this?
No, just, as we work forward, Patrick, if there's ever a time that you need to call for a special, please don't hesitate to. I know that right now it feels like we're stuck, but if we need to move fast, then take the opportunity to hit the gas when you need to. Thanks.
Yeah, I think at this point, at least as far as Madison Lane goes, we're sort of in a holding pattern because public was clear they need to do this needs assessment. And that those are usually going to probably take them a couple of months at least. But we will check in with them periodically to see what the progress is, and if they've started to come to any sort of conclusions we can start discussing. And I have reached back out again to our real estate agent just in the offhand. There's something else out there that we're missing that could be a fallback option if this doesn't work out. So we're trying to keep the ball moving, even though it's moving pretty slowly right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Okay, and I don't have any other comments to add at this time. So let's go to public comment. Has any public comment come in?
No public comment.
As a reminder, in case folks joined us late, if you're on Zoom, you can click the raise hand button. If you are calling in, you can do *9. And if you're streaming on YouTube, you can send an email to comment@svswa.org. I'll go ahead and mute myself for a minute, and then we'll see if any comment has come in. So we'll pause for a minute. Okay, that was a minute. Has any public comment come in?
No public comment.
Okay, and this is on the agenda to provide input and direction, and I am assuming, Patrick, there is no further direction you need.
No, not at this point.
All right, so the next item is update on the City of Salinas 1-year notice of intent to withdraw from the joint powers agreement with the Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority. And certainly there's been a lot of comments made. The one comment I do want to add while we're on this agenda item is, and actually, let me first ask a question. I was speaking with my city manager, Steve Adams, earlier today, and he referenced a meeting from, I believe it was last week, might have been the beginning of this week, but I think it was last week, a meeting with the city managers, including Ray, where Steve Adams asked Ray to assist in getting a Republic to the table in having further discussions along the lines of a purchase. Is that a discussion that you were a part of, Patrick?
No, unfortunately, I got the invitation to that meeting a little too late.
Okay.
And I was tied up and wasn't able to attend. But I did discuss that with Steve subsequent to that at a franchise meeting for City King. So we did have some follow-up conversation on that. I was planning to present that this week, but Renee was unable to coordinate that meeting. Renee Mendez from Gonzalez. And so it got pushed to next week. So I have been in those meetings. And really I think the concern here really is the city is in a unique position where they have some ability to help facilitate this with other discussions going on with Republic, and whether it's a sale or long-term lease, that would be helpful, very helpful for the city to try to come to the table on this one and help us out.
Mhm.
Yeah,
and I
thank
think
you.
that's the general request from the city managers relative to the relocation part of the project.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so that's really my portion of the update right now, is just so that we all know that the South County city managers, this is obviously very much on their radar. They are talking internally and continuing to have discussions on it. So, as we take our baby steps and hopefully some giant leaps here soon, we have a city managers group that is very well briefed on what's going on, primarily from Patrick, but I also provide briefings to Steve Adams, who carries that message on to the other city managers. So that's the extent of my report tonight. And Gloria, is there anything else that you wanted to add or any questions that you have?
No, I'm glad, that they're having the conversations, all the city managers. That's my comment.
Thank you. Chris, any questions or comments?
None. Thank you.
Okay. And any public comment on this?
No public comment.
Okay, I will go ahead and mute myself for another minute and we'll. All right, sorry, that was longer than a minute. I got a visit by my 3-year-old who came to check out what I was doing. Okay, one last chance. Any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
All right, great. And then this one is also on for direction, and there's no further direction that we need at this point in time. So let's take a look at the view ahead calendar there. If you could bring that up, please.
All right, so if you could just scroll down a little bit, please. Thank you. You'll be seeing obviously the 2 items from today, the financials and the grants and CIP budget allocations. We'll be doing our annual haulers report for Tri-Cities and King City. We have a recycling recognition, and of course the best part of the meeting will be our annual report. We'll be sharing that. We're in the final review right now, so we'll have that ready to present and share with the board and the public, as well as a update on our social media campaign, which has been really gathering a lot of steam and stuff, especially now with COVID going around. We'll have the two normal items relative to the updates on the transfer station relocation and the city's notice of intent to withdrawal. And potentially we'll have the item on fire. We'll see what information we can get between ourselves and council on this one, and either it'll be on the agenda or it'll be on the October's EC agenda if we need a little more time to prepare discussion items for that. So pretty standard September meeting, and then of course we have the audit coming. Cross our fingers it'll all be completed, ready for October. Some final updates on the Iverson Gloria Road construction projects well underway. They're doing a great job out there. It looks like they're on schedule. Road's torn up, which is great because that means work's being done. Hopefully we'll have a nice road by wintertime. And just a heads up for next month, we'll be bringing the GM evaluation to the executive committee in October to get that ready to distribute to the board and start that process at the end of the year. So if there's anything the board would like to, or executive committee would like to add to the agenda, adjust, edit, modify, now's a good time.
Okay, Gloria, any adjustments, questions, or comments?
Yes, I have a question. My last meeting with the city will be December 1st. So I'll have the opportunity to still do your evaluation? I think so, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. It'll with the EC's blessing, it'll be distributed at the October meeting to the board, and then it will return to the EC in November, and with discussion and then finalization to the, or final comments and stuff to the board in November.
Okay.
At the November board meeting.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Gloria, it's going to be weird to not have you on the board anymore.
I know. 22 years is enough, Rob.
It's crazy. 22.
I got to tell you, I just can't believe how quickly time went, you know?
Yeah.
It just went by so fast. It's unbelievable. But I'm looking, you know, I'll miss everyone. I thank you for putting up with me. I really have met great people, and you're great people. Chris, I don't know you that well, but what I know that I've been able to you know, work with you, I really admire you, Chris.
Thank you, Gloria.
Rob,
but you're not leaving yet.
No,
hey,
but I want to
she's
say
practicing.
this. I'm talking from my heart. I'm practicing. But Rob, you know, we've had unfortunately some differences, but you know, you and I go way back.
Yeah,
and
we sure
your
do.
little girl. And thank you, Rob. Thank you. And
Yeah.
Patrick, you and I, we need to have lunch. I want to have lunch with you, Patrick. And Caesar. We can go to Portobello's. It's open, okay?
There we go. All right. It's a date.
Yeah,
Today,
yeah,
I'll have Adriana reach out to you and set up a date.
yeah, I would love to have lunch with you, but,
Yeah.
but yes, thank you it's been an honor to know you all, to work with you. And you know what? I really believe that things are going to work out for the best. You know, I really do. And I'm praying about it. Okay. That it does. That,
On that,
you know.
and that is
Okay?
one of the many things that I like about you, Gloria, is that you're optimistic and you have a positive outlook and a positive viewpoint. And yeah, that goes far in life, doesn't it? Takes you far in life. Yeah.
Yes. And so, anyways, no more,
Anyways,
more emotional.
yeah. Back to
wanna
the
get
view
emotional
ahead
anymore.
calendar.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have
Yeah.
any questions, comments, changes on the view ahead calendar?
So on the view ahead calendar, I think the one thing I think would be important for us to do at some point is do some sort of a ribbon cutting. I know we were able to do one with MST. It was such a unique partnership, I think, with the city, the county, and our agency to make these projects improvements happen. And they were called for so long. Even if we have to be socially distant, I think it would be a good thing to do when the project is complete. So I just hope we can, make sure that that at some point gets planned. And then, hearing Gloria talk about her time and everything she's dedicated to not just the city of Salinas, but to this agency and so many others. I just hope that as the year comes down to an end, that we look at those board members, because I know we also had Council Member Villegas who won't be continuing on, and we want to make sure to recognize their years of service to this agency. So I know Patrick is probably in the back of your mind, but just wanted to mention it.
No, I'll be honest with you. We sort of, for some we have to wait until we know what the election results are technically. But yeah.
For the new ones? Yeah.
We would.
They're all going to be new.
Yeah, we'll plan on November. We will definitely have a celebration of all of our departing.
Party.
So you got to be at the November board meeting, Gloria.
Oh, heck yeah. I'm not going to miss. Are you kidding? I thought, oh, wait a minute. My last meeting is going to be in November. They said, no, you have to finish all your board meetings in November, but you still have to be at the meeting December 1st. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Chris, for your kind words, and all of you. Thank you.
And Chris, thank you for bringing up the Gloria Road project, because that, we've been talking about that for years and years and years and years, and to somehow doing a ribbon cutting, whatever form that is. I mean,
before I leave,
really, that's exactly before Gloria leaves. Hey, it's your road. It's your road, Gloria. So you need to be there.
Exactly.
Right.
I used to go out there as a kid, with Grandpa and them, and the Swiss rifle range. Mr. Romali just passed away from the Soledad Bakery. Swiss. They started all that Swiss, or before them, but they were really active with the Swiss rifle. All that group. So it just, wow. Yeah, if we could do it before I leave, that would be great.
It's possible. The road, the full project should be completed by the very end of October, first week in November.
Wow.
So it's possible we could have a ribbon cutting. I mean, I'll reach out to county staff on that one, and Gonzales city staff as well, and see if we can try to push something for November sometime.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. Yes, we talked about that forever, huh, Rob?
Yep.
The improvements that needed to be made.
We sure have. All right, let's go ahead and move on here. And we're going to be going into closed session in a minute here. I'm going to read a couple things into the record let me double check. Patrick, we do need to go into closed session.
Right? No, we actually don't. I have nothing. It's the same. Basically, you got most of the stuff that is public information presented during the first item. So I have no new information at this point. We're still in a holding pattern.
Okay. Okay, Chris or Gloria, is there any reason why you would need or like to go into closed session on the item that's agendized?
No.
Not for me.
Okay.
No.
All right. And then because it was agendized, let me just ask, has any comments been emailed in?
No public comment.
Okay, and for anyone who's on Zoom or on the phone, this is your final chance to either raise your hand or do the, I keep having to look, *9. This is your final chance. And one last chance. Any public comment or raised hands?
None.
All right, well, at this point in time, then we will adjourn the meeting. So we stand adjourned at 4:56. Thank you all for attending. Take care and best wishes.
Good
All right.
night.
Yes.
Be safe.
Be
All right,
safe. Good
bye.
night. Thank you. Bye.